Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and it is time for the superlatives video. Most people call it the end of the year tag. Now, that being said, I love this kind of catch-all category where you are able to talk about your favorite couples, your favorite series, the longest book you've read, the most surprising book you read, all of those things kind of wrapped up into a bookish award type feel. And I have got a very curated list of books here for you. I will say this video starts off a little messy because the first question is, what is your most disappointing read? Now, because it is the most disappointing read, that does not necessarily mean that it's a bad book. It's just that you came in with higher hopes and you were looking for something a little bit more. Now, I've got two to tell you about, and the first one kind of tears me up because this author came out swinging for me this year when I've read 3 of her books. And this was the third one, and by that time I had already built up, anticipation for it. And that was going to be Summer's Echo by Robbie Renee. I think this one was disappointing for me because it was marketed as this great emotional read that was like a second chance romance where they were like soulmates. And with that type of premise, that's what I eat up. And I came in with too high of hopes, looking for a book that would like emotionally wreck me and that I would just be desperate for these two to be back together. And when I was reading it, we didn't get the reason that they broke up until 80%. And by that time, I almost didn't care. Plus, it was just kind of like a soft-spoken love. They were childhood lovers. They had met at camp. And from there, I was like, I'm not invested enough in their romance. Like, they were children, and yes, they had this, great puppy love, but I didn't necessarily invest in it enough to feel like it was all-consuming. The other disappointing read that I want to mention was Shadow Obsession by Evelyn Leigh. This was the second book that I had read from her this year. Very similar to Robbie. The first book that I read from her this year, I had absolutely loved, and I was like, oh, I need more of this. So when Shadow Obsession came out, I was thinking, okay, this is supposed to be a dark rom-com. That is the perfect jam for me. Unfortunately, it was heavy in the rom-com portion. It wasn't heavy in the dark aspect. And while I loved the male main character and I enjoyed the female main character and their interaction, I also wanted it to deliver on the dark aspect. And this didn't even give morally gray. Like, it's not really delivering on the darkness. And again, that was I would say a marketing mishap. The next category is most underrated. Now, for this one, I do have 2. The first one is going to be Money, Power, Sex by Norian Love. And when I tell you this one is seriously underrated, it's been out for 9 years, and literally I don't know anyone that's talking about it, which is a crime. This one is a romantic suspense. It has a workplace romance, and it centers 4 characters. Now, at the beginning of the story, the 2 characters are in a relationship, and you're like, oh, this is prime to work. I see it happening. Well, one of the characters is very, very shady, and their past comes back up to bite them. And so we're dealing with betrayal. And I find this so interesting because I think that, one, I don't have enough male authors that are writing, and for sure enough male authors that are writing in the romance category. So I wanted to give Norian a try, and I loved it. And I just wish more people would take a chance with this particular story because it is so good that you are just like chomping at the bit for more. And there's an entire series that's dedicated to this. So this one is severely underrated. Like I said, it's been out for 9 years. And I want to say it has a less than 1,000 ratings. I want to say it doesn't even have 200 ratings on Goodreads. And I think that that's a crime. Similarly, I will say I also read another kind of romantic suspense storyline, Paramore. This one is written by B.K. Martin. I was reading this on my way to the Chicago Black Urban Book Expo, and it took me by storm. This one has a less than, I want to say, 50 ratings. And this is a newer author, and I think that's probably why it doesn't have enough recognition. Plus, it does have one of those tropes that people love to hate, but me, I devoured it. Being able to see the chemistry between these 2 characters, being able to see, it is the right person, wrong time, just so happens to be because this person is married and they're attracted like a moth to a flame. But when that moth get caught by the flame, it does burn. And that's all I'm going to say by that. I highly encourage you all to give this author a try because she just came out with the sequel to this, and I have to get my hands on it. The next category is overhyped. So where we have something that's underrated that no one's checking out, the next category being overhyped, I will say everybody and their auntie sister Tracy has been reading and loving. Not necessarily my jam. That's going to be The Neighbor Favorite by Christina Forrest. Now, I think this is for a few reasons. I started with book 2 in the series, and that was my vibe. That is a second chance romance where it is a fake engagement type of situation. I was like, okay, if this is what the series is giving, I need to go back and read book 1 because I understand. I came back with high hopes for The Neighbor Favorite because this one's everyone's favorite, or at least the most talked about, and I felt like this was very underwhelming, very boring. Like the two characters to me almost gave nothing. I was like, I'm confused as to why we are loving this. And again, maybe it's just a little too soft, a little too cozy, a little too demure, and I'm looking for drama. I'm looking for action. I am looking for angst. And that maybe that's my fault. We're going to talk about 2 books that surprised the heck out of me. And the first one is going to be Savage My Soul by Antoinette Sherrill. And the reason why this shocked me is because I never hear anyone talk about this book by her. I think everyone talks about The Art of Hood Love. They talk about her dark Disney retelling, Immortal Cravings, but no one talks about Savage My Soul. And so I had this one on my Kindle. I had downloaded it for like a free event. Maybe it was Bray or something. And I said, let me pick it up and read it. And it blew me away. This is one of those books that I can say, you truly had a gem on your hand this entire time and you didn't know. It was like damn near a 6-star read. And that is what I love, when you get to discover a new author and they write something that is so gripping to you that you have to go back and like purchase it and purchase everything in their catalog. This story is going to be on my tops of the year because it had so much that I absolutely adore. The next surprising book, and the reason why I say this is surprising because I had no clue what this book was about, but I knew that a lot of people loved it, and that's Equivalent Exchange. This is my second Christina C. Jones, and the first one didn't necessarily sell me, but everybody loves her. She has such a big catalog. So I was like, okay, let me go back and let me read Equivalent Exchange. And I was just thinking, okay, this is a workplace romance. That was going to be the vibes. No. That's just the tip of the iceberg. This book is so deep and it has so many layers and complexities to both of the characters that I was just like, oh, this is what the girls are talking about. This is what the true, I've unlocked the secret code and the secret key for Christina C. Jones. This is where it's at. I was so surprised by, like I said, the complexity of what this book had to offer. I wasn't sure if we were just going to get this like forbidden element where they're just kind of sneaking around in the bar. No, baby, there is no secrets here. There is no sneaking around. These two have to work through some things, and they need everybody to know because they need the support of the fans, the friends and family to help them through. The next question is favorite couple. Again, I like to recommend things in 2. So I've got 2 of them for you. The first being Orlando Rapp and Bianca Bambina, better known or also known as Ishmaya from Assist. I just adore them. They didn't have family, so they made a found family within each other. They became each other's foundations and each other's comfort. This is a friends to lovers romance that just kind of blossomed overnight. The way in which they dealt with everything together, whether it be meeting someone that you have never known that is your family and that says that they want to be in your life, or dealing with the family that you have that has been mistreating you. Like, they are such a great pair. And again, their friendship is the foundation. Like, they could just sit in a hotel and dance with each other and crack jokes and laugh. but also like go out and brave and face the world together, show up at each other's concerts or show up at each other's games. And it just warmed my heart seeing these two. However, this next couple, when I read it, I was like, these people are real. And this is a movie. That's going to be Capone and Aaron from Capone, the first in the Delgado series. Like, y'all, this couple right here, they're riding for each other in any aspect. It's like if you caught on the highway and it's a shootout, don't worry, I got your location, I'm coming type ordeal. Or it's on the opposite note, like your brother is going through some things and you need a man to help up and provide because there's no father figure around. Or I know the secrets of what happened to your parents. Like the way in which these two dealt with every obstacle as they could, and they did so with trust, dignity, and respect, because Capone already had a situation and Aaron stepped in and was like, hey, I trust you, just know where you lay your head at. I can't tell you enough about like how real this couple felt to me. Like they had their highs, they had their lows, but no matter what was thrown their way, they decided to brave it together. Now let's talk about our favorite main characters. Now I choose two, one as a man and one as a woman. Again, when we have favorite characters, I want to tell you I have favorite characters of both sexes. So the first favorite character, I'm going to tell you, I feel like in my mind, he's my best friend. Like we are homies. I don't think of him like I'm attracted to him. I think about him like, hey, I need your advice. I need your guidance. I need your comedic timing. I need you to be down to ride, but also pray for me. That's going to be Preach from the Zoo Boys series. Y'all, when I first got my glimpse of Preach, I said I need his book immediately because he is the complexest man that there is, and I just love that he can be the person that's a chameleon in any situation. If you need him to lay hands on you and say a scripture, he's got that. If you need him to throw hands for you and you need him to ride, he's got you. Like this man is everything, and he has such a great comedic timing, and he's not even being funny. Like he said, okay, I'm gonna pray for you before you meet your maker. I love Preach, and I don't think that there's any character that I've read this year that is seeing him. However, when we come to women, our FMCs, there's no better female main character than Lucia Moretti. Like I love her. I want to be her. I want to be around her. Like this woman here is, when I tell you a definition of a badass, like her, she's like, I slayed my own demons and I choose who I decide to give my life to, who I decide to be with, and it doesn't matter what you think this is. I am that girl, and I love her. Let me tell you, this is her in her wedding dress, dripping in red, and that is the blood that she has stepped on everybody's neck for. Like she said, okay, hubby, if we're going to do this thing, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna be bold, proud, and out loud about it. I love Lucia. Like I love her so much. I almost need to reread her. Let's talk about my favorite new to me authors. I have two, Tatiana Timmons, who did the Zoo Boys. Like, I am obsessed. You're going to hear me talk about her another time within a category. But Tatiana Timmons, like, her writing, the way that she's crafting the story is one, jaw-dropping. When I tell you that she leaves you on a cliffhanger, the way that she gives each one of the characters that she writes within the Zoo Boy a different personality, a different character trait to where they're live and in color for you. The way that she's crafted the world so uniquely and giving everybody a little bit of tidbits and dropping some gems there. Also, I think that she did something that I have never seen. Because you're doing a series, the best thing that she did was do like a kickoff book where every character, you get to meet them. It's not one person's story, it's everybody's story. You're dropped directly into a scene, and you're left to kind of figure it out, and you quickly pick up the pace, and that is the pace that she sets for the rest of the series. Like that initial book where you became so invested that you had to continue. Like I am running through this series like a Tomb Raider, and it is all because of the way that she's written the book. And let's talk about how the visuals are stunning. I'm going to leave an image right here of the visuals that you get to see. She shows you characters, and it's not character art. These are like people she has crafted for the story. It is black pages with orange writing. Like she is so very on brand and on theme, which is why this is the best series that I have read for the year. Like I'm just going to go ahead and skip to that category. The Zoo Boys is the literal best series that I have read because I cannot put it down. Like I am chewing on it, munching on it like a Pringles can. Like once you pop, the fun don't stop. And I can't wait to tell y'all more about it. But that is my favorite series. I need to jump back to new to me authors that I love because that was urban romance. That has a different space, urban fiction. I want to get to what I have found on the softer, sweeter, contemporary side. A new favorite author for me is Lina James. I have read 2 out of the 3 books that she has done in this Fort Bender series, and it is chef's kiss. I mean, hit after hit after hit. She hasn't had a miss for me. My 2 favorite in this series are Sunshine with You and Always Will. One is a best friends to lovers romance where it's kind of a love triangle with a character and her best friend, and we all know that she's going to end up with her best friend, but the guy in which she has the love triangle with, get this y'all, the guy in which she has a love triangle with, his name is Trevor. I don't feel bad for him because he's actually in love with the FMC's sister, and they get book 3. And their romance is like a one-night stand turned into surprise pregnancy, and I ate it up. It sounds very messy, but I promise you there is nothing messy about it. The way in which Lina writes this kind of, town, this series, these friends, like everything is great, kosher, and they really just develop community with one another. Now, the next question is, what is the author that you just realized didn't work for you? Now, this year, I finally come to the conclusion that me personally, I'm not going to vibe with Shay Sanders. I've tried 4 books from her within the last few years, and I got to my 4th one, and I was like, okay, sometimes enough is enough. And I feel terrible because everyone seems to love her latest release, which is like The Last Man or something like that. And that is a book where it's this flight that goes down. It's only this famous celebrity and the flight attendant. And it's like, you're the last man standing. Could I love you? And I'm like, I want to get into it so bad. I want to love it. But I don't want to make it a 5th time of me reading something and just realize this is not for me. So I think I've come to the conclusion that Shay Sanders and me just probably won't vibe, and that's okay. Not every book, not every author is for every person, but I do love that everybody loves her. So that's probably the author that I realized, okay, this year, let's hang it up, Lisa. That's not going to be the author for you. However, on a happier note, let's talk about the happiest book that I have read. The book that just brought me so much joy, so much delight. That's going to be One Night Stand by Tanveer Pert. Y'all, I read this probably last week, and it was such a delightful read for me. It had me like kicking my feet, giggling, to the point where I was laughing out loud in an emergency room. Again, had to bring a comfort book to help me with the things that I was going through with a loved one. But I was reading it and I was having such a good time. I was like kikiing and laughing to where I could have been put on a psych eval because I was that loud and boisterous as I was reading it because it just brought me so much joy and so much love and light. It is a sports romance, best friends love to lovers, kind of quirky woman in STEM and a celebrity guy that has only had eyes for her. She is older than him by 5 or 6 years, and it's just cotton candy, my catnip. So that is the happiest book that I have read so far. But the saddest book that I've probably read this year is going to be Fast by Millie Belazar. I don't really have to tell you that this is sad. Everyone who has ever heard of this book, who has ever read of this book, they know the way in which Millie put everything into this book and said, I want to collect every single tear that you have. I want to wreak so much havoc on you that you have nothing but to do but beg me for happily ever after. And boy, did she deliver. This one is sad because you know that there's people that stories are just like our FMC in here. You find that there is something just so humanizing that you want this person to like prevail against all odds. You want to know that they're going to be all right. And so even if you put this book down a bunch of times, even if you get to the point where you're like, I just can't take it, something in your mind wants to see them win. Something in your mind just wants to see them to know that they're okay and that they're happy. And I don't know how Millie is ever going to be able to top this, because this is one of those books where like this is like the supreme of her catalog, and anything else that she writes is going to be compared to this. But I hope that doesn't stop her, because we need to hear the stories. We need to be able to see it. We need to be able to call family members out like we did in this book, y'all. Fast is definitely sad, but it is definitely a necessary book in the Black bookish space. Let's talk about the most frustrating book that I read this year. And when I say frustrating, it's because like I wanted to love it so bad. I wanted so much more out of this because this happened to be everyone's favorite. But for me, that's going to be Still Waters by M. Monique. Like, I've heard nothing but great things about this, and I came in with very high expectations. Unfortunately, this book was kind of like hot and cold for me. Like, it read super quick to where everything that was happening between the characters was done off page. Like, we would get to the point, I'm like, how do we get here? What did I miss? When did we have this development? When did we decide that this was okay? Like, there were so many things that happened in the book that I felt like were done off page, but in the same token, this book also read very slow. It was supposed to be like a thriller, kind of suspenseful, romantic suspense element, because someone was after the FMC, and that is why she was on the doorstep of the MMC. And like, there was some big mystery that she was trying to solve with her best friend's death. And I was like, when are we going to get there? Like, when are the stakes going to rise to the occasion in which the premise set? Like, I'm confused how we've read so much and yet so little has happened. So it was very frustrating for me, because I was trying to get to the point. Like, I was trying to get to where like I was invested, I enjoyed it, and I loved it, because I knew that there was going to be a book 2, but I never made it to that point, and I probably won't go back and read book 2. So that was frustrating for me personally, just because I had such, high hopes and high expectations. It was frustrating because like I feel like if we would have saw the things that were done off page, it would have made the book better for me. Let's talk about the best book to movie adaptation, or best book to TV adaptation. I'm going to tell you, I've got 2. Are we surprised? The first one is going to be Forever. That is on Netflix, and I've never read the book. Don't even know what the book was about, but I saw that this came from a book, and that this was going to give me like coming of age love story. Like, we are soulmates, but we're too young. Everybody believes it's puppy love, but I will do anything for you, and I want to see you win. And I know that you've been hurt in the past. Let me be your comfort. Like, it gave me everything, and that is why I'm glad that Netflix understood the assignment and gave it a season 2. And that I am ready for them to drop it whenever they can. Forever is that good. Like, I made my sister watch it. I made my best friend watch it. I made everybody that could watch the show watch the show. That is supreme book to movie adaptation. Now, the second one is one that I'm currently invested in, and it is living rent free in my mind. I watch the episodes every week when they come out, and I start over the season every time a new episode comes out. That's going to be Heated Rivalry. Now, I read this book in 2021, and I was like, oh, I get what the girls are talking about. Now that the TV show has dropped, I'm like, oh, I get what the girls are talking about. Like, Heated Rivalry on screen is cinematic gold. Like, if it doesn't win awards, there's a hater in the mist. If it doesn't get the necessarily hype, now it's already got a season 2, so I'm not mad. HBO, Crave Network, y'all understood the assignment. You understood that we are dying for this type of love, this type of representation. We're dying to see this type of adaptation. I am so grateful that I live in a time where this can counterbalance all of the negativity that are going on with the world, because Heated Rivalry is supreme. The next question is, what's my favorite cover? That's going to be my choice as you. Like, I am obsessed with this man on this cover. I'm obsessed with the character, but before I knew what the story was, before I knew who Jasper was, I would look at this and I'd be like, yep, that's my obsession. I loved this man before I knew who this man was. Then I read this man and I said, oh yeah, face match the vibes, match the character, match everything. This book cover is a thing of beauty. Just look at it. Love a black man. Jasper for the win. Let's talk about a book that I haven't stopped thinking about. Lives rent free in my mind. I pretty much think about this book every single day. Wonder what the character is up to. I'm wondering if the father is getting payback. I'm wondering if he is getting his 20 times over. I am wondering if the uncle ever got his happily ever after. I'm wondering, what cute vacations the family are going on. That's going to be Only If It's You by T. Lynn. Like, this could have been one of my most surprising reads, because I came in, I had no understanding of what the story was going to be like. I didn't know what T. Lynn's writing was going to be like. However, when I tell you, yes, it was surprising, but the surprising thing about it is I think about these characters so often that if she wanted to write just a follow-up novella, if she just wants to sprinkle them into another book, I'd be there, ready and willing and reading it, because these characters here, they live here. I see matching Burberry bathing suits in Las Vegas hotels, like, in my mind constantly. Like, I wonder if JV was like, yeah, let's go to Disney next. Let's go to Paris next. Like, what are we going to do next? This is one that I constantly think about. Let's talk about unpopular books that I love. Now, this one may be a little bit premature. It just came out. Maybe enough people haven't started to read it and recommend it. However, is this microphone on? Let's talk about Why We're Not Loving the Huntsman by Naima Song. I am obsessed with this book. This book is my dark obsession. And y'all have rated it a 3.5. How is that possible? This is a Disney retelling of Snow White and the Huntsman, where all the characters are black. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe it's too dark. Maybe you don't understand that the FMC can dominate the MMC. Maybe you're not understanding that all 7 dwarves are women and they could be badasses that take down the evil queen. I'm not understanding why y'all not loving this, but what I'm telling you all is you probably need to go reread it, because this is gold. And if y'all don't see it the same, well, sorry for you. Let's talk about books that I thought I'd love. Unfortunately, I did not. That's going to be Love on the Ninth Floor by Aries Sky. Now, I came in with the highest of hopes. I have told y'all that I love a fireman. If I haven't told y'all, let me tell y'all, I love a fireman. I just think that profession is literally and figuratively hot. And so when I realized that MMC was a fireman and he saved the FMC from being stuck in an elevator, I said, okay, check 1. pass the vibe test there. However, what I did not like is this book. You mean to tell me that you've been cheating on your boyfriend this entire time and he's like, oh, that's cool, that's no problem, I still want to be with you? Nowhere. That's not in real life. That does not happen. I'm not telling you I want him to crash out. What I'm telling you is I want this to be realistic in the way that which he's like, yeah, I'm hurt and I want you to feel my pain. Neither here nor there. Did not enjoy the book. Let's talk about a book that I probably will need to reread or want to reread. That's going to be Soul Ties by Miss Candace. Also happen to be an infidelity book. So again, if y'all don't like that trope, some of these books may not be for you. This one right here, I'm probably going to have to reread this, not because I want to get into the mess and the drama, because I need to recall the two characters that have a spot in this book that also happens to be book 2, because I remember them and their interactions slightly, but I want to be primed and ready for when I continue on in that series. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is how we met, this is how we feel about each other, so I can just jump right into book 2. So I'm gonna have to reread this one because it's also getting a resurgence. I do know that I believe it was traditionally picked up, and so the cover is an illustrated cover. I personally prefer this one, but I do think the illustrated cover is more palatable to people. Another question is, what is the most unique concept that I read? Now, I have 2 books for that. Both of them are extremely unique to me. The first one being The Gift by Rosie Adams. This one I really enjoyed, but the concept was just engaging. It pulled me in. This is a story where our MMC is actually married and his wife and him are having a baby. Unfortunately, his wife is murdered in a robbery, and his wife wasn't actually the one that was pregnant. She had her best friend that was going to be her surrogate having the child for her. So now this man who really didn't want to go about having a child in this manner, he wanted just to be with his wife. He winds up now having a situation where he has to bring in the best friend who he does not like and who he blames for being the reason that his wife is missing. He has to bring her into his home and have this baby and raise this baby and understand that his wife is not here, and he has to deal with the emotions of what he starts to feel for this woman that is living in his house and that will be having his child. Y'all, this broke me in so many ways, because not only does he have complex emotions, our FMC does as well, because she feels responsible. She knows that she is put in this situation where, like, she is starting to resonate with the child that is growing in her womb. This is the last part of her best friend that she will ever have, and it's just like this emotionally tied and charged situation, and the way in which they develop a kinship in their grief, like this very interesting concept. Another very unique concept which I am obsessed with is going to be Bookmarked. This is not a romance. Let me say that. This is not a romance. Hear me clearly. This is 2 people that are madly in love with one another, who are married. They go on this final trip together before they get divorced, and it is them kind of having their last moments. Not the fact that they don't love each other, not that they don't want to be together. One of our characters feel like they need to get this divorce. They need to be able to find them. They've lost themselves in this marriage, and while they love their significant other, they want to love them more. And this is just one of those situations where you're like, it is breaking me. However, it is so beautiful, and you see that the love is still there. And no one talks about, the process of grieving a love while you're still in that relationship, while you're still very much in love with that person. But the way in which that this was written, it does not feel like a situation where anyone was in the wrong. You don't feel like angry or upset. You are happy that it happened. And I've never read or seen a book that was written in this format. And I tell you, when I tell you Bella J put her foot, her leg, her knee, she put everything into this, and I couldn't be more grateful to have read this one. Book I wish I would have read. Soul Glitch by Gabrielle G. This is the second in the Souls series. I wish I would have read this one because now I have to wait. And now the longer I wait, the more I miss or, you know, have a distorted recollection of what has happened in book one. So I wish that I would have read this, and I wish I would have just pushed through the series. I will probably go back and read book one, but I definitely will be reading this in 2026. Also books that I will be prioritizing in 2026. That's going to be Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson and American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I need to read this. Both of these will be on my 26 for 26. Let's talk about a book that I am glad to have gotten off my TBR. I told you about this author already, but that's going to be Rabi Renee. This was one of the first books that I read in January, and I am happy to have this off my TBR because I was very curious to know who Dr. Ezekiel Green was. Everyone had talked about him like he was one of the top book boyfriends of, you know, the years, like not just 2025, not just 2024, but like however long this book has been out, Dr. Ezekiel Green had been on the list. And I was very, very curious to know. Now that I know, you can consider me a part of that fan club. Similarly, another book that is one that I was so glad to get off my TBR, but it is also the longest book that I have read this year. That's Demon's Dream. I was trying to hold out because I knew an audiobook was coming for this. I believe this is something like, this may be 700 pages long. Yeah, it's 745 pages long. I was putting this off because it's so big. But when I tell you, when you start reading it, it doesn't feel like time has passed by. It feels like you're going through this at such an alarming rate that you don't even need an audiobook. Definitely glad I have read this one. It counts for my longest book of the year. So let's talk about the shortest book. Now, I have not read this yet. I will be reading this probably tomorrow. That's going to be Sierra Simone. This is my present this year. This is a Christmas-inspired, commercial-inspired book. This is centering a taboo, kind of forbidden romance at a commercial in the 90s by Folgers. It just sounds like chaos, and I have to read it. It's only like 36 pages long, and so this is probably going to be the shortest thing that I read this year. That being said, let's talk about the last and final question, which is, what are my goals for 2026? I want to finish more series. I want to come on live shows more, or show my face more on Instagram. And then lastly, I want to read what I own. So I will be doing a challenge where all of my books for my 26 for 26 challenge will be physical books that I own. And I'm trying to read down my shelves so I can hopefully get down to 50% at least. So those are my plans and my goals for 2026. Tell me any one of these categories what you would choose for. So what's your favorite couple, or what's your most disappointing read, or what was the longest book you've read? Tell me one of these questions in the chat. If you don't want to do anything of that nature, leave me a coffee emoji, and I will talk to y'all next time. Bye.